Hello, you're watching BiTV European Service. I am Ines Berger, and today we welcome Richard Lustigman, who is Head of Co-Living for JLL Capital Markets. Hello, Richard. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Ines.
So, Richard, with you, obviously, I would like to focus on the co-living sector. And my first question is, how has it evolved over the last year?
Well, I think that the pipeline growth and capital raising in the co-living sector continues to illustrate demand for what is a nascent subsector of the broader living sector. In our co-living index that came out the back end of 2019, which was the first European index on co-living, we were tracking about 23,000 co-living beds across Europe. Today, that number is over 50,000, with more than 33,000 units in the pipeline and about 16,500 operational beds across Europe. And I think what's really interesting is the scale of the assets. So today, the average size of a co-living asset in the pipeline is about 250 beds. And that highlights the shift from repositioning existing and older assets into ground up new build development and something that's more institutionally credible.
Thank you, Richard. And how does this dynamic contrast to other operational real estate sectors, such as senior or student housing, for instance?
Well, I think that over the long term, co-living is much like the broader living sectors in that it has defensive investment characteristics. It benefits from stable cash flows, the ability to actively manage rents, in order to maintain occupancy levels and to limit void potential. And specifically through this COVID-19 pandemic, we've witnessed assets that were in the high 90s in terms of occupancy levels dipped to around 70% through the summer, but then bounce right back up into the mid 90s through September. And I think it's that flexible nature of the co-living sector specifically, associated with an intensive management structure that's allowed co-living to adapt to the challenges faced by COVID-19, and other sectors will do that in their own way. But I think that, looking ahead, particularly for young professionals, we still see co-living as a key driver of demand, and urban living being the center of that. And this higher prevalence of working from home right now highlights the importance of quality co-working spaces, collaborative spaces, which already exist in these co-living developments, as well as leisure and social facilities. So co-living is really well positioned to perhaps take advantage of the evolution in how we live and work.
Right. And finally, I have one last question. How does France's co-living sector compare to its European counterparts in terms of development and offer?
To talk broadly, I think that, firstly, I would say that France, much like the rest of Europe, is facing a time of limited mobility, where we live and work may have changed indefinitely. And well-designed and operated co-living assets are offering an insight into their ability to adapt, evolve, and weather the vagaries of social change. And I don't think that that's necessarily specific to one country. I think that that's pretty much a global movement. And as we emerge from the current climate, co-living, when it's designed purposefully, will be a model for mixed-use buildings of the future in towns and cities across Europe, across the globe, where one can live, work, and maintain a fulfilling lifestyle under one roof. When it comes to France, I think it's a really exciting time for the country right now. We track about 4,000 co-living beds at the moment, but we expect that to take off and to more than double. So current stock to double by 2023. So over 1,800 additional beds into the pipeline. And I think it's underpinned by strong investor activity that we're already seeing. There's some very interesting examples of operators backed by institutional capital or institutional joint ventures looking at first off the student, but pivoting into the co-living sector. The Ivanhoe Cambridge and Greystar link up is an example of that, with a target capital deployment of over €1 billion across the Greater Paris region. And we're starting to see a hub and spoke, or an evolution out of Paris into secondary cities and gateway cities across France. So I think it's a very interesting time, and those fundamentals, the migratory demographic underpinnings of co-living are very prevalent in France, much as they are across major cities in Europe.
Richard Lustigman, thank you for joining us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me.
See you all soon on BiTV.